All right, just one more clothespin. Hold still, branch. There. And now, the final blanket. Ah, my blanket palace, my feather-fluffed, memory foam-enhanced masterpiece. Why, gravity, why?
Blimey, looks like a laundry basket had a wrestling match with a tree and lost.
It was perfect, Sohail. The folds, the airflow, the sunbeam, just right for napping. I built it just like the one my mom used to make when I was little. She'd build a fort every time I was sad, said it was like a hug made out of blankets.
I remember when me nest blew away in a gale off the coast of Zanzibar. I mourned that twine and kelp for weeks.
It's not really about the fort, you know.
Aye, it's what it reminded ye of.
Some days it sneaks up on me. A smell, a sound, the shape of a shadow, and suddenly I'm 6 years old again, looking for her wing to tuck under.
The ones we lose, they don't leave, lad, not really. They hide in the things we build, the stories we tell, and in the quiet corners of our hearts.
You're wiser than you look, Sohail.
Don't let it get out. I've a reputation to uphold.
Well, maybe it's not the same fort, but maybe it's time to build a new one. One that remembers the old, but lets in new light.
Aye, lad, and this time let's anchor the corners. With actual anchors. I've got a few rusty ones in me beak locker.
Mirage Digital presents The Amazing Stories with Zucky the Hoopoe. Season 2, Episode 2, The Orphan. Salam, my wonderful listeners! It's your favorite feathered friend, Zucky the Hoopoe, back again with another amazing story from the pages of our history. You know, the kind that flutters right into your heart, and maybe even makes it flutter a little. Have you ever had a moment where everything just felt different? Like the world got quiet in a way you didn't expect? Maybe someone was missing. Maybe you felt a little lost.
Like a lighthouse going dim in the middle of the storm.
Or like losing your favorite perch and not knowing which branch to fly to next.
Aye, you flap for a bit, but you learn to glide again.
That's what today's story is about. A journey that starts not with triumph or treasure, but with tenderness and loss. And yet, something beautiful blooms from it. Something the whole world would come to see. But let's just say, this boy we're about to meet, he didn't grow up the way most kids do. He faced trials that would make even a camel sit down in shock.
Don't say that around camels. You know they hold grudges.
Today, we're going back to Makkah, to a time when the world was tough and the hearts of good people were even tougher. We're going to meet someone who didn't have much. Not money, not a big home, not even both parents by his side. But what he did have, that changed everything. And no, we're not starting with miracles and prophecies and light bursting from the clouds. Nope. This is the story before all of that. The early days, the quiet days, the shaping days.
The days no one sings about, but maybe they should.
So grab your cocoa, your cozy blanket, and maybe give someone you love a little side hug. We're about to begin a journey of love, loss, and the kind of strength that grows in silence. This is the beginning of a story that shaped the world. Long before the call to prayer echoed through the hills, long before the Quran was revealed, there was a quiet beginning. In the valleys of Makkah, surrounded by sun-baked stone and winding paths, a child entered the world. His name was Muhammad. Peace and blessings be upon him.
A light in the dark, as the elders would say.
But here's the part that always makes my feathers fall still. He never met his father. Abdullah, the son of Abdul Muttalib, passed away on a journey before his son was even born. He'd been traveling to Yathreb, visiting family. They say he fell ill on the return and never made it home.
A child born into the world, already missing a piece of it.
No stories from him, no warm arms to hold you, just silence where a father's voice should be. But Amina. Oh, Amina was there, his mother. Her love was steady, gentle. She held her baby close, whispering to him as if every word could shield him from sadness.
Stronger than any armor, a mother's love.
She would sing to him, wrap him in cloth lined with hope, tell him stories of his noble lineage, of Ibrahim and Ismail, of the Kaaba, of honor. She may have been alone, but she never made him feel alone. Muhammad grew, not in a palace, but in a place richer than gold, with kindness,
with gentle pride, Halima Sadiya and her clan. Some say the desert winds carved gentleness and courage right into his bones.
When he was 6, Amina took him on a journey, a long one, to Yathrib, where her husband had died. She wanted him to know his father's roots, to walk where Abdullah once walked, to connect him to what little was left.
But the return journey, it didn't go as planned.
Near a village called Al-Abwa, between Yathrib and Makkah, Amina fell ill. The journey, the heat, her body couldn't carry on. And, just like that, Muhammad was alone again, 6 years old, no father, no mother, only memories.
That's a storm no nest can prepare you for.
But the ache of those early losses, it never fully left.
Still, somehow, the boy didn't close his heart. He kept it open.
After his mother Amina passed away at Al-Abwa, Muhammad returned to Makkah and into the care of his grandfather, Abdul Muttalib. Now this wasn't just any grandfather. Abdul Muttalib was the leader of the Quraysh, the noblest tribe in Makkah. People listened when he spoke. They followed when he led. He was strong, wise, and full of dignity.
A lion among men, they'd say, and not just for his beard.
He had many sons, 10 of them. One of them would become very special to Muhammad later on. His name was Abu Talib. But back then, Muhammad was just a small boy with big eyes, and Abdul Muttalib, he loved that boy like no other. Every morning, Abdul Muttalib would sit beside the Kaaba, on a shaded mat laid out just for him. No one else sat there, not even his grown sons.
Not even the sons? That's sacred turf.
But for young Muhammad, he made an exception, always. He would call him over, place him beside him, even let him rest his head in his lap. The nobles of Makkah would raise their brows, but Abdul Muttalib would smile and say, "Leave him. My grandson has a great future." For 2 more years, Muhammad was surrounded by love. His grandfather made sure he was never far. He fed him from his plate, held his hand through the market, whispered ancient wisdom in his ear.
That kind of love, it leaves an echo.
And it taught Muhammad what it meant to be dignified, what it meant to carry yourself with honor, even when your heart still ached. But then came another loss. At the age of 8, Abdul Muttalib passed away.
Another wave, another anchor gone.
And once again, Muhammad's world shifted, but he wasn't left adrift. Before his death, Abdul Muttalib made a choice. He placed Muhammad in the care of one of his sons, not the wealthiest, not the most powerful, but the most trustworthy.
Abu Talib.
Yes, Abu Talib, the Prophet's uncle, a man of quiet strength, a man who would raise Muhammad not just as a nephew, but as a son. From this point on, Muhammad's journey would continue in the bustling household of Abu Talib, where he would learn even more about patience, humility, and what it means to love without limits.
So many uncles, but one who stood tall beside him.
And others too, like Hamza, the brave, and Abbas, the watchful. All of them were a part of a story still unfolding. Seeds of love and loyalty, planted long before the world knew who he'd become.
and still he walked forward.
He did, into Abu Talib's home, a home full of children, full of noise, but also full of love. It wasn't easy, but Abu Talib gave him what he could: food, shelter, and the most important thing of all, loyalty. I wonder what he felt that first night in a new home. Did he lie awake? Did he stare at the ceiling, listening to a family that wasn't quite his, wondering where he fit in? I remember a night like that. A few seasons ago, I got separated from my flock. We were migrating south, and I lingered behind, got caught in a crosswind. The others disappeared into the clouds, and suddenly, I was alone. I landed in a strange valley. No nests, no familiar trees, just wind and stars. I perched on a cold branch and wrapped my wings around myself as tight as I could, but it didn't help.
It never does.
I remember thinking, what if I'm the only one left? What if no one's coming for me? That night, I understood something. That even in a sky full of stars, you can feel completely alone.
But you made it back.
I did. I don't even know how. Maybe it was instinct, maybe it was a prayer, maybe it was a bit of both. And I think that's what Muhammad, peace be upon him, did too. He kept flying, even when the skies were empty, even when the ground beneath him kept shifting. He trusted that Allah was still guiding him, even if it didn't always feel like it.
That's not just survival. That's something deeper.
That's faith, the kind that doesn't shout or show off, just walks forward, one small step at a time. You know what I keep thinking about?
What's that, lad?
That even after everything, losing his parents, then his grandfather, Muhammad never turned bitter. He never closed his heart. He didn't push people away. He stayed soft, open.
That takes more strength than lifting a sail in a storm.
He trusted that Allah was still with him. And maybe that's what being truly strong means. Not that you're never lonely, but that you believe, even in the loneliest moment, that you're still being watched over, still being guided.
Like wind beneath your wings, even when you can't feel it.
Exactly. And I guess all those people who stepped in, like Abdul Muttalib and Abu Talib, and later even Khadijah, they weren't random. They were placed there, not to replace the ones he lost, but to show him he was never really alone.
Mercy, hidden in the folds of sadness.
And maybe the same is true for us. Maybe when the sky feels empty, Allah is just rearranging the stars. I don't think I'm afraid of being alone anymore, because now I know I never really was. You know, friends, I used to think that being strong meant you had to carry everything by yourself. That you had to flap your wings harder, fly farther, hide the ache in your chest and never let it show. But now I know that's not true. That's what I want to remember. That even when I feel alone, I'm never really alone. Allah is always with me. And He sends people, like Abu Talib, like Ayman, like you and me, to take care of one another.
So, what you're saying is, if I feel lonely, I should go perch near a kind uncle with snacks.
Ha ha ha, that's not exactly what I'm saying, but it's not wrong either.
A full beak and a warm wing can fix a lot of things, lad.
You might be onto something, Sohail. But really, friends, remember this. Even the smallest heart, even in the quietest corner, is seen by Allah. Always. What a story, huh? A boy who lost so much and still became a light for the whole world. It reminds me, and maybe you too, that even when things feel heavy, Allah is always near. And every moment, even the hard ones, are shaping us for something beautiful. And don't go far, my friends, because next time, we're heading to the hills. Yes! We'll see young Muhammad, peace be upon him, learning responsibility the good old-fashioned way, herding sheep. There's a runaway lamb, a tricky cliff, and a lesson about true leadership you won't want to miss.
Ha! I tried herding goats once. Turned around and they were herding me. One of 'em stole my compass. Never got it back.
Sounds about right.
I still have flashbacks. Hooves in every direction. The bleating. The bleating.
So get ready for wool wisdom and a little sheep saving action in our next episode.
Leadership. Bah. I once led a flock of flamingos into a bakery. Still not welcome in 3 cities.
You're unbelievable.
Unbelievably effective, lad. The croissants were worth it.
This story was produced by Mirage Digital. Voices provided by Wayne Holland as Zucky and Curtis Fletcher as Captain Sohail. Episode written, directed, and edited by Syed Kashef and Atef Hussein. For more content by Mirage Digital, please visit our site at www.mirage.digital.
Content copyright and production copyright 2025 by Mirage Digital.